Good afternoon. It is a Sunday, 12:30, so it only means one thing, a date with greatness. And speaking of greatness, of course, it is some of the incredible women in sport on the continent and in the country. And today we continue with the story of a publicist and a PR specialist. Her name is Bronwyn Roets, CEO and founder of Exposure Unlimited. So if you want a young PR masterclass, you better stay tuned. Another episode of Women in Sport Africa. It's part 2 with the story of Bronwyn Roets. Bronwyn, you're also a champion when it comes to women in sport and the visibility of female athletes. So once again, as a person that has been around for, is it 2 decades now?
Yeah, just 2 decades.
Just 2 decades. It's an incredible feat. It's a lot. It's a lot that you've done. When you look at female athletes, doing that comparison of back then versus now, do you think much progress has been made?
So I think definitely much progress has been made internationally. I mean, just with paying and fees and that kind of thing, there's definitely a lot that has gone into it, but there's still so much to be done. Mm-hmm. I think it's almost like you have to decide what the message is. I think there's a lot of women that are being targeted, not necessarily for their sport, but perhaps for other reasons. But you can come and be on our show, but let's talk about not just only your sport. So often the sports side of things is not really highlighted, whereas they are just as good as a male athlete.
Yeah.
So I think that there's still quite a lot of education in that regard. Mm-hmm. I also really feel strongly about the difference that women, for example, at a games or in any sport, has to go through compared to a man. And also that they are able to achieve. Yeah. For example, family planning. Especially in an Olympic cycle, they have to wait and put that on hold until after sport.
And those are the things that we tend to forget, Yes. We just want to see Tatiana getting a medal. We couldn't be bothered. We don't even care to consider that at the end of the day, Tatiana maybe has ambitions of being a wife one day and having her own kids.
Correct, yes. And those are the kind of things that they have to put on hold. And there's no way there's going to be time for a year off to have a baby in an Olympic cycle. So they have to wait for afterwards.
Sure.
And that obviously delays things as well. There's also sexism. And at the Tokyo Olympics, we had to pull a massive thing that they were on the Reddit platform. Mm-hmm. There was one of our teams of the games, a women team, they were being sexualized and commented about terribly on Reddit. Luckily, the IOC stepped in, pulled off, but that really had a lot to do with their performance because it was really horrible comments that these women had. So those are kind of things that men don't have to worry about.
Yeah.
There's a special briefing with photographers about how they capture women at a game.
Sure.
So those are kind of things that you don't even think of with men.
At all, actually.
Yes. And then also, obviously, menstrual challenges. Some women start without even expecting it. Yeah, there's a lot that happens.
And do you find that the world is getting to a point where all of those things are considered as they should be? Because I know with female athletes, especially in football, the injuries that they get are a lot different. And some of them are more injury prone to get certain injuries because they're female.
Yes.
But then, do you think that maybe the world would see those kind of conversations as an excuse? You said you want to be an athlete, so just be an athlete.
True. I think that that's definitely at elite level. I think that there are definitely discussions at a higher level. Again, like we said, with Kirsty being on the IOC, I think that will come. And that's obviously an overall body of sport.
Yeah.
But I think people are just starting out in the sports. I think that's where the discussions need to be made. Where coaches are used to having kids or just boys, now they've got women and they don't really know how to handle it. An injury is such a good example of what you said there. So I think there are great doctors, but I think the discussion needs to be made below elite level.
And it needs to be accepted that the conversation will be different.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Just also looking at the likes of Tatiana Smith and Caitlin Roscoe's 2 athletes that you've worked closely with, how important has their careers been in just showing more young girls. I mean, Caitlin Roscron's doing gymnastics, a sport that is called the Cinderella sports, and succeeded. In fact, Tatiana as well, because swimming in the country is not one of the main sports. How important have they been in growing those sports?
Absolutely. You can see when Tatiana now is out in the public, how people recognize her, which doesn't happen in women's sport a lot. Obviously, she's a gold medalist, she's a world record holder, but that hasn't happened before. And I think there's so many girls, little girls, that come up and say, wow, I want to be a swimmer now. I want to be a swimmer because look at what you've achieved. Caitlin as well, she's really, especially in her community, she's like a little star because little girls look up to her. And they realize that they can also make it happen and they can do it.
So we also get to those complicated moments, Brownyn, where, for example, something is happening in the world, like a war somewhere or a conflict of some sort, and an athlete will then come out and voice their opinion. And then you'll see that there's always that complication of, should they just stick to being an athlete, or are athletes also, to a certain extent, activists?
Yeah, I think it depends on the athletes. I think if they are very outspoken and they do it the right way, go for it, because that's your personality. There are some times where they just lose it and then say something and then they have to withdraw because that's not really who they are, or that's not who they want to be seen as. Whereas some activists, if there's a murder or an assassination, they strongly feel that way, and they will talk about it, then go ahead, but then just be prepared for that backlash. My advice would rather stay out of those kind of posts. Stick to being the athlete, but if you really feel strongly about it, go for it.
And of course, then we spoke about how social media brings a completely different ball game to this entire thing, because just a tweet or a post on X could go global.
Exactly. And also with the advent of AI. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, anybody can use your image. So image rights are also now changing like anything. So AI is also massive in terms of how that can be spread. So fake news is a massive risk in PR and being a publicist. So you constantly have to be on top of that.
Sure. So many lessons that we're learning there from Bronwyn Roets, the CEO and founder of Exposure Unlimited. And the conversation continues after the break. Welcome back to WISA, Women in Sport Africa, with our guest today, Bronwyn Roets. Bronwyn, you've worked with the biggest brands in the country and globally, of course. How is the relationship now between female athletes and branding and sponsorship? Where would you say we are in terms of the easiness of it, of a female athlete, top of a game, but also up and coming? Are we warming up? Is corporate South Africa really warming up to women in sport?
I think that corporate world is warming up to it. I don't think South Africa's there yet. I think that the world is very on with the FIFA World Cup, the Women's World Cup. There's great corporate sponsors with the US Open, the tennis. They have equal pay and that kind of thing. But in South Africa, I don't think it's there yet. They don't see the value yet. I think it's definitely much better than it was. But I think when you try and negotiate with corporate South Africa, they don't really see. It's not the same as when you go with a guy.
And actually, a case study that I like to use is two scenarios where it was the Netball World Cup in South Africa, where we hosted for the first time in the country and for many years on the continent. But it was such a big deal to be hosting the Netball World Cup. So that's one. The second one is Banyana Banyana going to the FIFA Women's World Cup, making history as the first side to get to the quarterfinals, not the quarterfinals, but the last 16. But I feel like when they came back, number one, after hosting the netball and after Banyana Banyana coming back, there was not that amount of support to say, these are the women that just came back from a World Cup and this is the history that they've made. In fact, even now, they don't even have a sponsor because Sasol recently pulled out. How do we leverage from those big moments?
I think it's going to take a bit of time, and I think it's about leveraging, showing that you kind of have to go that extra mile. And I think Banyana always did with Cecil. They were an incredible partnership, but I think it's so difficult to be able to leverage sponsorships now that. It's about going that extra mile, building relationship with sponsors, and really showing them that, you know what, we can do it. We will give you more mileage, more exposure than a men's side. Look, we're winning, and it's kind of an education process, but it definitely is happening.
Yeah.
Definitely. And I also think with school sports, it's almost there. There's a lot of sponsorships that are bubbling under. It's obviously cheaper to sponsor there, but that's also really happening, and it's really becoming so. Sponsors are sponsoring youth hockey teams, and it's the same as the men.
Yes.
So I think that's kind of where it's going to start.
So we always speak about what the sponsor could do. What can the athletes do? What responsibility do they have to ensure that they are marketable, so to speak?
Yes, so I think it's very important to partner with a brand that aligns with your values, because if it's something that you don't stand for, then there's not going to be a good relationship. And having a sponsorship is about relationships, because you want to show off their brand and you want them to sponsor you. So it's really it's a marriage, and so it's very important to have a great relationship. So from the outset, go the extra mile. Make sure it's not just about if they ask for one post a month, do two. Go the extra mile, and for example, build that relationship. If they invite you, go. You invite them. You create that relationship, and make sure that you always, that, what, I need to remember my sponsors. So in mentions, subtle mentions, it's okay. Just remember your partner in the road that you're going.
Which athletes would you say is a sponsor's dream, holistically, not just in terms of performance, but they understand, as we say on social media, they understand the assignment that you have to post, you have to create reels, you have to be like a whole rounded athlete, not just on the pitch?
Sia Kulisi.
Oh, okay. He's a media darling, so that makes sense.
He is amazing. So we good friends with the Freedom of Movement guys, which do clothing, and Sia is a partner. But I mean, he's sponsored by them, and he is incredible. The way that's behind the scenes. Nobody even sees it, how he goes out of his way to include them. He's just incredible. So Sia Kulisi, definitely.
Okay, that's the one prime example.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm not going to ask who doesn't like social media and maybe is reluctant to,
Yeah.
Because also a lot of people don't like social media, and that's okay.
Correct.
It's just that from an athlete's point of view, you have to be on these platforms.
It's crucial.
Yeah.
But there are many athletes that are scared of it and don't want to do it, and it becomes a job. Whereas, if you're in the entertainment industry, you're on social media, you love the entertainment. But if you're a swimmer or an athlete or somebody, that's not your personality, you're shy.
Sure.
So it becomes a job. And that creates a little bit of, it all depends on the personality. I often say that the athlete doesn't necessarily win to become a superstar. They win to win. They are so committed.
Yeah.
And then this obviously transpires. So that's something that we also have to manage, is different personalities don't necessarily want to be in the spotlight all the time. And
what do you
fact
think
around.
in your personality has made you the PR person? Because you're one of the leading ones in the country. Clearly there's something that you get right in person skills.
Hey, I don't know, it's only God's favor. But no, seriously, I think it is exactly that. It's about building a relationship. And I think it's so important that the athlete trusts you, that we're all human, we all make mistakes. And I think it's important that when they do make a mistake, they know their team, and I'll always have their back, no matter what. And I think that's what's important, is that trust, build relationships with media, constantly have that open line.
Sure, that open line is truly important. It's Bronwyn Roets, and she's played a PR role to most of our favorite athletes that have donned the green and gold from the Paralympic Games to the Olympic Games. And the conversation with her still continues. If you are interested in a career in PR, trust me, you want to stick around. And welcome back to our last segment of Women in Sport Africa. Wiser is what we call it. And in the PR game, I believe in the past 30 minutes, we can definitely say we've grown wiser in understanding the role behind an athlete's pursuit of greatness. It only does not involve them being on the pitch, but of course the work behind the scenes as well, Brownyn. So if there's a young girl out there sitting and thinking, actually, I think this PR life looks good and I'd love to pursue it. In this day and age, where do you start and where do you go in terms of education?
In terms of education, I think that there's so many more opportunities nowadays. Firstly, I think it's good to have a degree behind you, to kind of just get a bit of a foundation,
yes.
But it's not necessary. I think it's a good thing, but you know what, if it's not possible, like in my case, go out there and just, maybe do short courses online. There's so many that you could do in the journalism space, in communication space, so that you understand the journalism world, you understand communication, because you can like sport, but you need to understand what the media want, what the public wants, because that's what it is, public relations.
Yes.
And so that's very important, is to get the foundation and that. But there's so many different avenues in sport as well. If PR is not the way to go, there's so many things you can do in sports. You don't have to be the 100-meter winner,
yeah.
or the netball shooter. You just have to love sport. And for me, the number one thing is to be willing to do the hard work, to be willing to do the dirty work, because you never know when anybody's watching or somebody's watching, and that's when you can be picked up.
And I think one of the things I've learned in our conversation with you is the importance of building these relationships.
True.
When you do get that opportunity, what do you do with it?
Exactly, and that's really important. Relationships, networking, going to events, that's so important, especially when you're first starting out, and really being willing to intern wherever you can, so that you can just learn. Learning is so key. And yeah, there's so many other things that you can do in sport.
Yes.
There could be social media manager. You could be a sports biokinetist. You could be a personal trainer. That opens doors into whatever you want to do in sport.
Yes. And I mean, Brownyn, there's been greater tragedies or things that have happened over the past couple of years in terms of sport where PR needs to step in. And I'm thinking about the likes of Tiger Woods, Oscar Pistorius. Are those the moments where you question and you say, did I really want to be the person that takes care of the story?
Yeah. So I've been very lucky that I haven't had such a massive story. I did work with Oscar, but we weren't working together when the incident happened, although media did call me, and it was a big shock. But yeah, I think that is really few and far between. And as long as you can manage the message beforehand. Obviously, those are huge tragedies and huge stories. So there you're going to need a massive team of PR people, not just one, especially in a Nike Tiger Woods situation.
Yes.
But yeah, I think those are really few and far between. So it's nice to tell the good stories. And I think that's what PR in sport does. We all have got good stories to tell.
And staying with the good stories, Brownyn, I mean, Brand South Africa has grown immensely over the past couple of years, looking at what the Springboks have done. Yes. We've touched on Banyana Banyana. We're hosting global showpieces here in the country. What more can we do as a country to keep solidifying our status, not only as a country that can host, but also as a country that has incredible athletes as well?
Yes, I think it's so important to constantly keep the public involved, because often what we do is you'll just go quiet for a while, and then just before a games or whatever, then there's a big boost. So I think the key is to constantly keep the public involved, create social media campaigns, big campaigns, and because we have got, this is what unites us as South Africans, sport. So it's so crucial to constantly keep everybody involved. And I think the Springboks do that really well. Oh, the fact that they win and beat New Zealand 43-10.
Yes. Oh, of course, we'll always highlight that. But also I love how Saru has also incorporated and sort of paired the Springboks men and women as a unit. So every time we're marketing both teams. That counts for a lot.
Absolutely. And they're also in the same name. So it kind of just ties in. They're also a family. They've got the same sponsor. So it really works well. And they've really done a good job with that as well. And you can see how well they've done because of it.
So Brownyn, lastly, I just want to get the fun moments where we get, because you are like a window into the athletes' lives. So I want to check who's the most fussy eater that you've worked with.
So I think they're all very committed. This is going to sound, I worked with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Okay.
When they were here in South Africa with the Arnold Classic. And I have never met anybody more fussy. He doesn't touch alcohol. He has just chicken breast every single day with salad, breakfast, lunch, and supper.
Wow.
Lunch and supper. But he walks around with a cigar all day.
Okay.
Very interesting. And the bodybuilders at that tournament, they were so finicky. They literally ate dry oats because they can't have any water in their body. Dry oats and 12 eggs. So we had to have like 12 microwaves. That's not fried or anything. They just put it in the microwave. So yes, finicky is that. But I must say the other elite athletes,
yes,
everybody's committed. So they stick to it.
Okay. Great dancer?
Great dancer is definitely the African blood. So I would say a Kani Simbini. Yes.
And you did say that Siya Kolisi is the media darling, but just overall, reflecting on the amounts of athletes that you've met and the incredible human beings that you've got to come across in your journey.
So definitely, I know I've said a Kani already, but for me, a Kani is also just the epitome of professionalism. He is a PR dream as well. He's just so professional when it comes to media, and he's just always the same in terms of doing interviews, who he must speak to. He's just the ultimate. So he's definitely on a Siya Kolisi level.
Yes, yes. Bronwyn, just lastly, I know yours is to really carve the story and the narratives. But looking at your story, what is next for Bronwyn, if you're able to share?
Yeah, so I just think that it's now my time to give back. I think that I've been really blessed in terms of having all the opportunities. Never in my wildest dreams that I think I'd even go to one Olympics, and I've been to 4. It's like the ultimate. I could never have imagined that. So for me, I would really love to give back. I'd love to be able to teach other ladies how to do that. And they can also teach me. But so that's my next step, is I'm going to be doing a mentorship program tied into high performance. And I really want to grow that next generation, because it's not just South Africa that needs us.
Yes.
All the countries need us.
Yeah.
So, and there's definitely, when you look at all the press attaches around the world, there's very few women.
Okay.
So
yeah, there's lots of work to be changed there.
Yes.
Thank you so much for being such an incredible guest. And her name is Bronwyn Roets, the CEO and founder of Exposure Unlimited, and of course the architect behind the stories of many of our favorite athletes. And that's where we leave today's episode of Women in Sport Africa. We have another date next week, Sunday at 12:30, right here on SABC2.